It's the People's Podcast Show with Adrian Biddle, Melissa Bartlett, and your boy, Kerry Bixby. It's your show, so tell us what you want to talk about. It's that The Round Table Podcast Show.
Hey, welcome to another edition of At the Round Table. How you doing, Melissa?
I'm good, A Money. What's up with you?
I can't call it, but first, before we get too in detail with what we're going to talk about, let me give you the proper introduction that you deserve. So, out of the three of us, she's the strong one. She's the generous, compassionate, authentic, and matriarch of this podcast, the one, the only Miss Pitbull Melissa Bartlett.
What's up, family? A Money. I'm not giving you any of my stimulus money. I don't care. I'm gonna take that introduction and thank you. It is Wednesday, family. We are in midweek, and it is such a joy to be here with you guys and to talk with my brother. We're missing CD tonight because he has things to do, and we are always here for you guys, but we have to be there for our families first. So, we told him, we got this, big bro. We got this.
Yeah.
But I'm not here by myself. I got my A Money, Adrian Biddle, because he brings the facts, he brings the guests, he brings it all, and whatever he give it to you, you can bank on it.
Hey, I appreciate that, sis. I appreciate that introduction. I'm telling you, I'm investing in a lot of Bitcoins. I'm telling you, when they skyrocket, I got you covered.
Oh,
All
how
right.
has your week been, bro?
Man, it has been fairly busy. I wouldn't think that it would be, but a lot of different things that I've been putting off of late that I'm having the opportunity to finally catch up on. So I'm jumping on that and trying to knock that out. And everything outside of that as well. How about on your end?
Busy. It's graduation season. My baby girl graduation North Mech. So next week we are gonna have graduation on the 2nd, and we have been trying to prepare a safe event for her celebration outside that following Saturday. So it's been busy for me, busy. I got people coming in town, got people coming from other parts of North Carolina, South Carolina, and we're just excited about it. So I asked everybody to pray, make sure that we have a great time, a safe time, and a healthy event.
All right. Well, I'm sure everything will get kicked off and taken care of in the positive and most influential way that you want it to turn out.
Right.
But hey, I had to give our guests some shout outs, our viewers. Charlie too. She said, "Hey y'all, hey Charlie."
Hey.
We also have joining us Miss Mahogany. I apologize, I can't get it like CD do, but hey, welcome to you as well, Mahogany. We also have Miss Terry Digsby joining
What's
in.
up, Niecy?
Hola. And also Mr. Robert Conn.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait to hear what
Hello.
Mr. Connor got to say tonight about our topic.
Hello. So speaking of that particular topic, you want to go ahead and introduce it? Is it? It looks like it's on the banner rolling right now.
It is. It says, sugar mamas in other relationships, are you open?
Sugar mamas and other relationships. Are
How
you
old do you
open?
have to be a sugar mama?
That's a good question. Let's see. So it says the definition of a sugar mama or daddy provides and offer financial support to younger companions. It didn't actually tell me what the age range is for that particular sugar mama or sugar daddy, but on average ranges for the sugar babies, as they dub them, anywhere between the age of 18 on up to maybe about 25 and 26.
Ooh, okay.
hmm
Okay. Mm, that's kind of interesting. Mm. So you need to be legal, not go to
Yeah.
jail. So you need to be 18.
Yes.
Hmm.
Charlie says
Okay.
she hopes to be in town too. So I guess she's giving you the heads
Next
up.
weekend?
I guess you can comment on that, Charlie, to expound on when you're going to be in here. Um, Mahogany states that I'm not being nobody's sugar mama. Period.
Especially if you've
LOL.
already had kids. I know that's right, honey. Mm-mm.
And Terry, well, there's a sugar people who don't want sex, just company or arm candy, and I think that's cool.
Okay.
Disappoint too.
Okay.
Certainly disappoint.
Because you hear something and you're focused like, oh, you automatically think sexual. And a lot of times there's a lot of misconceptions and things that we don't understand, maybe because of tradition, maybe because of age. Um, you just kind of see things one way. So that's why it's good to have these type of conversations, especially with the dynamic age that we have, or demographic, I mean, of people that we have, because sometimes you don't think of things that way.
Hmm. And just to answer your question from earlier from Charlotte, she said, "Yes, ma'am." Day trip, left out loud.
Okay, it's on.
All right. So, according to Seeking Arrangements, yeah, I found this very interesting. SeekingArrangements.com. Sugar babies can make monthly around 280, well, excuse me, $2,800 a month.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was floored when I saw that.
yeah, yeah. I believe it, and I'm not gonna say like this is new. This is not like a 2021 or a 20 within the last 10 years. It has always been around.
Hmm.
Um, but there was different dynamics to it. There was different. These kids have taken it to another level. Like they have somebody who's paying their rent. They have somebody who buys them cars. They have somebody who, like the one young gentleman, he was saying that he has a um like a credit card. So it's like, oh, okay, and he doesn't have to pay the bill. Like
Mm,
whenever he feels like shopping, he said he shops and she pays the bill. Like, so it definitely is. It's out there.
yes. My apologies, Charlie. I've just now came across this comment. What are these others?
Others, as in,
I don't know if you were referring to a statement that we made prior or a comment by someone else. But if you want to elaborate on that, feel free, Charlie.
I don't know how I feel about. I'm opening my mind to respect
Mm-hmm.
the different types of relationships that people are having, and I am opening my mind that this is not a fad, or there's a certain age range that experience this.
Okay, so Charlie said you said other relationships, so we're gonna expound on that as we get a little further into the show.
Yeah.
Yes, so 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 stay tuned, please, please. Like these other ones we're gonna touch on are gonna fire you up. So I guess my question for you, Melissa, as well as everyone else, um, would you say that with the sugar babies, for lack of a better word, does that impair their growth as far as how they view a relationship should be?
I think, according so the show that I watched, to do just a little research, um, I don't feel that the young man or the young woman weren't aware of what a monogamous relationship would be or feel like. I feel that we have to unlearn and retrain our minds to exactly what relationship is. Um, Relationship is just that. It's an interaction between two agreeable parties. So if and when they want to be taken care of, that's it. He said there is some people that he does not have sex with. He basically is their arm candy, as Terry said. There's nothing, there's no ties other than just being available, making sure that he looks good. The young lady said that one of her sugar daddies she is sexually involved with, but the other ones she is not. Um, it's they're not really. I think they're really clear on what their relationship is, and I think they're upfront with that person. Sometimes it seems a little more defined than if they were in a monogamous or a traditional relationship.
Mm, mm. So, what do you think about Terry's comments?
Let's see, as far as relationships, no people no longer value the role that sexual intercourse is supposed to play. Mainly a tie between a husband and wife, a source and solace of reproducing. Sex has never was never supposed to be a free for all. Okay.
Mm, mm. True that.
I think you need to again, it goes back to defining the expectations of the relationship. Uh-oh, Charlie said what? What did
Oh.
Charlie say? First of all, she said first of all, you know she about to drive it. What did she
Hmm.
say first of
Let's
all?
pull that up.
She said first they're not in a relationship. They are in a business transaction. So that's what was created in my opinion. True. True.
Hmm.
But they are typing it as relationships. Which goes into some of the other types, and I know there are many. So disclaimer, we are just for myself, I just looked up um to say what are some of the different types of relationships.
Hmm.
Um so the next one that I looked up was the polyamory, and it's a non-monogamy, non or consensual practice of having multiple intimate relationships, whether it may be sexual or just romantic,
Hmm.
with full knowledge and consent to all parties involved. Polyamory is generally a non-gender specific relationship. So you could be in one with a woman, you could be in a man. It doesn't matter because you're romantically or they're giving you some type of companionship. I'll get the name of it to you. Honestly, I can't remember right now what the name of it was, but it was I want to say it was called Sugar Babies, but I'm not sure. I will post it and send it to you or send it to you in a message.
Cool.
But the that one blew my mind
Yeah.
because I know of, and I guess here's the thing. Again, society training us how to think. We've heard of this before, but we always say, "Oh, that's just white people," or "That's that." And there's a lot of African Americans that are taking on this type of relationship for financial reasons, um, for the fact that they feel like it's just been too much emphasis and weight put on them to be married. And this is for men and women. Um, hetero and homosexual, like they just feel like society's put so much weight on them to be in a relationship or to be married, to have a baby, to do this, and they want to have fun and they want to find somebody who doesn't feel that they need to be those things. And so it was very interesting, and I can say I truly have a better understanding on why
Mm.
some
True.
people, you
True.
know, do
And,
these.
and Charlie brings up a good point too. They can't involve sex publicity because it then borders on prostitution when speaking of sugar babies, and
um,
that's how they get around that from being illegal. So
right,
that's a very good point, Charlie.
right, right. That's a HR term. That's HR.
Yes, ma'am. All right, and Terry, she notes that, but if business involves sex, doesn't that automatically make for bad business?
Not necessarily.
Hmm.
I think what makes for bad business, and you tell me if you agree, bro,
Okay.
when you say one thing and you're keeping it very rigid and your line is drawn and emotions get involved.
Yes, yes, and I can't comprehend how that wouldn't happen whenever you're involving two people emotionally like that. So I totally agree with you.
And I think that's the difference between someone who is a sugar baby or a sugar mom or sugar daddy versus someone who's in a polyamory relationship because
Mhm.
it's expected to have some type of an emotional connection to your multiple persons when you're in a poly versus being that sugar or that sugar baby mama daddy thing.
Absolutely. So Terry says, like, what if sex no longer becomes consensual? You can't go to BB and report your employer, so to speak. No lawyer in the world would touch that case.
I think that's interesting.
That
What you
is.
feel about that, Mr. A Money?
I wouldn't even want to be involved in any way or form in anything like that. So yes, that is certainly an interesting point there, Terry. I can't.
Unless you have some contracts.
Ooh, well, yeah, that's a good point too.
You gotta have some contracts. And then if you decide, hey, I wanna be with this person, maybe you put an amendment to the contract, you know, to say, hey, now I don't know if they didn't respect you as a person, would they respect paper? But at least that's something that you could maybe say to a lawyer, like, hey, we had this contract drawn up and we were just entertaining each other and he or she took advantage of me, you know?
Mm-hmm. Good point. So Charlie mentions, I know my lanes, and she goes on to say, wait, I'm learning the lanes as a relationship consultant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Polyamory is a true type of relationship. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Because everything is up front. Hey, we're gonna be sexual. Hey, I just want a companion. Hey, I love you. Hey, I don't want to be in love. I just want to have fun. Like it is so transparent. And you don't get that with sometimes you don't get that with a traditional monogamy partner, you know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, Charlie, it is. It is. It is. And we talked and touched on consent in previous shows, but I think consent is key in any type of relationship that you're in at all times. So
Melissa Nelson says true. I'm apologizing for missing you, Melissa, coming in, but welcome to the show. Please feel free to throw out any comments that you feel necessary as we start to get a little deeper into some of the other subject matters.
so one of the other ones I looked up, bro, was an open relationship.
Oh, you just took mine. Go ahead. See, great
No, you
minds think
go ahead.
alike. Great
Go
minds
ahead.
think alike.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Mm-mm. So, let's see. So, let me first off read the definition of it. So, it's a form of non-monogamy in which each party agrees to engage in extramarital relationships. Now, you start to hear this more with a lot of I guess a lot of celebrities. I hope I won't be sued by mentioning, but we always
The
heard of,
tabloids said
yes,
that's our loophole.
allegedly,
Hmm.
Will Smith and Jada Pickens. We also heard of, what's my girl name? Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. Monique. Heard that
Hmm.
she's in one as
Hmm.
well as a lot of other ones.
Hmm.
So that's a new term. Um, and Avo.com notes that 92% of open marriages end in divorce. Go figure. Go
Well,
figure.
I think that if you're in the mindset to not be transparent, then you're going to be no matter what rules are there, you're going to break them. I just
Yeah,
feel like that if you're a person that's going to break the rules, you're going to break the rules. I don't care how much room you give that person. I don't care how much understanding you're supposed to be. I don't care how many different shades of this that you have. If you're the type of person that breaks rules, you're going to break them. Plain and simple.
true. Okay, so Charlie mentions no consent is rape. Let's be honest and factual.
It is.
Yes, ma'am. That is absolutely true. Uh, let me clear. I guess let me make be clear, not having consent is rape. And she put that in capital letters, so she putting the emphasis on that.
She did. I feel you. I think that consent needs to be a conversation. I tell my daughters, going out with someone, even when you're saying, "Hey, this is my romantic person," um,
Hmm.
consent needs to be verbal. And let's also know that consent is constant in our relationships. I don't care how many years you've been together. I don't care what you've done. Consent is always on the table. It is always there to talk about because there are things that change, just like people change. And there are things that someone may do that they want to do, or maybe some things they want to try, and that's not what you want to do. Who cares in what you're in the middle of doing? If it's something that you don't want to be done, that's still consensual, verbal consensual to say, hey, I don't want that. I don't want that to happen. So
Absolutely. Still true.
Charlie said that having open means there's not a commitment.
Oh, I see that. That's true. All right. So, Terry, poly open relationships don't make sense to me. Like, where do you draw the line? What happens if you love one more than the other? I would be offended if my husband said another woman was equal to me in my heart, in his heart.
Well, it happens. And
Mm.
there was a red table um show on this
I missed that
about
one.
loving, like you love each other, you love, he told his girl, he had his girlfriend on the show,
Hmm.
and he said that he loves his wife, but he also loves her. And the wife and the girlfriend know each other. They go out now, all kinds of stuff. But it does. He said pretty much the beef that happens in that is when he's supposed to be with one, or he's supposed to be home, or whatever the case, and she knows where he is. She knows that he's with one of his partners,
Mm.
and he's not there when he's supposed to be, because you literally have shared time slots, I guess, where Monday nights you're gonna go out with your girlfriend, but I'm gonna be home by 11 because you and your wife want to watch a movie. Well, if he's not home by 11 and he hasn't called, she's angry. She's still angry because he didn't come home when he was supposed to, but it wasn't about him coming not coming home when he was supposed to because he was with somebody else, because she knew that he was with someone else. So it's interesting. It definitely makes you, rearrange how things been set up in your brain.
And considers fluid, says Charlie, can be changed in the act or over time.
Yep.
Hmm. So I have a question. So getting back on the term of open marriage, and this is for you, Melissa, as well as everybody else again. What is the purpose of being married and still having a open understanding where you can go out and engage in the other relationships? And I don't mean to put you on the spot like that because I know you're you're not that type, but I'm just trying to
You don't.
grasp.
It's
I'm just-
2021. You don't know what I'm into. You don't know what changes that took place.
Lord forgive her. She means not what she said.
No, I'm being honest. I think, in my opinion, let me put that out there. I feel that if you are married and you are in an open marriage, I feel like people try to find a way to appease their cheating spouse, um, to make them be stay with them. So they'll stay committed to them even though they'll go out and be with other people. So hopefully it would make them, I guess, be more drawn to them because they're not putting a boundary or putting a tie on their wandering spirit.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, I could not be in an open relationship because I'm greedy and I'm a little bit jealous natured. So I don't think that I would like to see anyone that I'm in a relationship with or married coming in. They had a good time and I didn't provide that for them.
Okay, so Charlie mentions open marriage and open relationships are two different things.
They are.
Yes, I can see that. I just don't understand the purpose of just the marriage part there. Why not
Right.
just
Be
be
in an open
single?
relationship.
Exactly.
I think sometimes open marriages, again, just like consent, I think the open marriage thing is something that develops. Again, maybe out of infidelity or just out of curiosity. Because let's be clear. Most people that are in an open marriage, both parties are in the agreement to that. So you have women that are gonna be with whoever and you got the man that's gonna be with whoever. So I mean it's interesting to me that our we just have to open up so much to different types of love and different types of engagement.
Mm,
We just you just and this in this year, you know, things are just different. They're just different now. And I respect it. Some of it I don't agree with at all. I don't and I don't understand it. But I respect what you decide to do. And I think that's where society has to develop that again. You need to respect the difference with someone. Even if you don't agree, even if it's something that you wouldn't do, you have to respect that that's what that person does. You don't have to make them be your way or do what you do.
absolutely. Terry states that I don't think non-consent is rape if it doesn't go both ways. If two college kids are drunk, how come only the girl is raped? Technically, excuse me, technically doesn't matter. Oh, excuse me, does it that mean she raped him as well? She coming up with some good statements today. I would think that's interesting. I could put up an argument saying agreeing with what you're saying with that. I
Yeah,
can.
just society again, it's retraining your brain. Let's go back
Mm-hmm.
to let's take rape and consent out, but this is similar to the same scenario.
Yeah.
I think we all had a young lady that got pregnant in high school. And back in the day, once you started showing, you couldn't
Mm-hmm.
stay in school. You had to go to the alternative learning center.
Yes.
Why? If the boy went to the same school or
Mm-hmm.
it was in high school, why didn't he have to go to the alternative center? Because she
Good
didn't get
point.
pregnant by herself.
That's a good point too.
But the proof and the burden has always been on a woman. Always. So I know people right now that's in those situations, and they've said honestly that they don't recall what exactly happened. Yeah, but nobody's saying that they raped, I understand what you're saying, but I'm talking about you are cognitive that someone is the aggressor, and you are in a situation where you do not want to that to happen. There are times when that person has not been non-responsive. That is rape. You cannot do something with somebody and they are not cognitive. They're not able to verbally communicate with you. That's rape, plain and simple. If both of you guys wind up doing something and y'all both fell out, y'all both passed out,
Mm,
we both on okay, so you gonna say I raped you and you gonna say
mm,
someone say you raped me.
mm, mm, mm.
But none of us know what happened.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
No, it doesn't. The person who withdraws consent and is violated is raped. Charlotte goes on to say that some open marriages, again, are sometimes contractual or
yep.
agreements. Let's
Which
see.
goes back to what your belief is marriage is. What your definition of marriage is.
Okay. So Terry throws out this one. She said, "But what if they don't? They are both wasted. So how can you say for sure?"
Well,
Uh,
that's something. Look, as mom used to say, I'm not trying to split the butter from them beans. Okay, I situations are there are a number of situations that you can. I mean, this is why you need to be careful about what you do and what you get involved in. I know in my younger days, I party, I'd have a good time, but I'm never at that point where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go with him. Like, no, you don't know him, you don't
mhm.
know, and I'm not blaming any party that, but there's just certain things that in the end of the night, you need to make sure that you're being responsible as well,
Yeah.
to not end up in that.
Yes, I totally agree with you. I think what you bringing up, Terry, is a cautionary tale on just being mindful of the people you're around and definitely taking into account your surroundings as well. See, so Charlie states that it's different, still muddy water, but different. I like everybody had different views on these.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, see, that makes the argument for and against.
Yeah.
Uh, oops. No regret in rape.
You'd be like, ah.
He's silly. He's silly. Uh, Terry says, but that's what I'm saying. It should go both ways.
It does.
Uh,
It should. It should,
yeah.
Terry. And it takes a man that isn't scared to um become a person that's going to have ridicule, that's going to, be talked about, that's going to be slandered. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it takes that dude to say, okay, like, because I mean, how many men is really going to say, "Oh my God, I got drunk, she raped me"? Who's coming? What dudes is coming out to say that?
I would say little to none.
Right.
Okay. So Melissa Nelson states it's hard to be in a marriage with someone who doesn't want to provide certain things for you. Then you make an agreement with someone else where the person knows you're married and wants to provide those things. Hmm.
I think that it definitely is, and I feel like, you know, people want to talk about infidelity and, certain people who haven't either experienced it on either side, you know, boom, hard down, be like, there's no excuse for it, there's none whatsoever. But sometimes it's something as simple as that they're not getting their needs met. They've been vocal to their spouse, hey, this is what I want, this is what I need, this is what I expect. And then that person comes and not even looking for anything, not even trying to move in, is providing those things for you. Now, yeah, there's other avenues, you start feeling a certain way, you start thinking a certain way, you're supposed to back and all that. But we're just talking about the initial kind of like, that's how it started. Nobody went out going, "Oh yeah, I'm trying to cheat today. Let's
Hmm.
see who I'm gonna cheat with today." You. That's I'll say a good 80% of infidelity did not start that way at
Hmm.
all.
Okay. Charlie says that's part of VBFF. She also notes I have been in both situations and I personally knew the difference.
Mhm.
Okay. That butts tradition and really requires transparency with communication. And Miss Terry comments, how can you honestly say to a person that I love you more than anything in the world? However, I love this person too, and I'm willing to leave your bed to get in theirs.
If you're able to split it,
It's a unique situation.
Go ahead and say it, everybody. Go ahead and say it.
Hey, I personally don't agree with it. However, if you got two consenting adults that agree with that view, only thing you can do is respect it. I don't agree with it. I don't subscribe to it. To each their own. But pretty much piggybacking on what you said is, you know, it's to what consenting adults choose to do.
Hmm.
That's why this topic is so. You can look at it as being divisive, but also eye opening in some terms,
Yeah.
as well as just maybe looking at it from a different viewpoint.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I've talked to somebody who is in a they're a common person, not a celebrity, and she and her wife her she and her husband have an open marriage. And I just was sitting there with my mouth open because not knowing, he's very loving, he's very attentive. They go on trips together. He does the just because flowers and gifts, and you know what I mean? Like, there's so I never knew until she decided to share that with me, and my mouth was open like, "Oh my god." But she said it's the best thing ever. Now, the way that theirs is set up is you're not constantly just out looking da 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 da. You're not constantly just having this relationship with this other person. But if someone comes to a point where you're just like you just can't seem to do without, or you're interested in getting to know them better, he or she has that permission. They just have to let their spouse know.
mm, uh, hey, thank you for joining us, Lakia Diggs. She notes that I think you can cheat on a person and still love them. Um, Melissa, she responds with yes. I don't think it's to what Lakia said, but it might have been something prior that we were discussing. Uh,
You know, you
oh
don't
well, I don't know. You're right. You're right. I'm assuming. And Melissa, she also notes, "Wow."
That's the key word right there, Miss Toots.
Hmm.
If you can and I never can say this correctly, compartmentalize
Got it.
the, because people who do that, they do it in everything. Like, they don't just do it in their emotional state. They do it really with everything, from how they eat to what they eat to
Hmm.
how they work. They are boom, 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 and they do not mix. They shut off one, turn on the other, shut off one, turn on the other. So they're able to do it.
Terry says, "I'm a traditional Christian, Charlie. I can honestly say I only believe in one form of a relationship. I think all problems stem from leaving that."
And she's standing
I,
in her truth.
yeah, I love like I said, I love the different viewpoints. I mean, again, everybody has a different view. That's what makes this forum so interesting because I mean, it could go to the extreme left, it can go to the extreme right. You have some people meeting somewhat close to in the middle.
Hmm.
So,
I agree with Terry. I just feel like it's, to me, the thing that causes an argument, and I'm not talking about just arguing stating your opinion or your point. I'm talking about people who just like going at each other's throats, is that
hmm,
they do not respect that other person.
hey, you see that in the government right now.
Right. Right. Okay,
So,
Melissa. Yeah.
okay. So Charlie says, I know many in different types of relationships. I also have been in a few different ones myself. However, my current situation for me is very traditional. I'm labeled to a, have faulted feelings. I turn them on and off about everything.
Not only is it off and on, it's hot or cold. I get you, VBFF. Like, I understand.
Whoops. How was it for Solomon? Oh,
Miss
you jump
Nelson.
too. You
Ooh,
you
Miss
jump too.
Nelson. Ooh, Miss Nelson. I tell you
Uh,
what, Miss Nelson, I'm interested in you commenting on Solomon's one of Solomon's situation 2021. Like, what do you think it would be labeled as? One of these 2021 terms.
I agree. I appreciate that, says Charlie, and I understand it. I also know that it is not for everyone.
Right, right. And again, that's that olive branch where Terry's saying, "Hey, I'm traditional," and Charlie's like, "Yo, it's cool. It ain't for, and it's not for everybody." And guess what? If it ain't for you, it ain't for you. But it's not for you to try to condemn nor convert somebody to do your relationship style. That's not your responsibility.
Lakia, she states that I think that once certain people realize that they may not be ready for monogamy or don't want to be in a monogamous at the time or with a particular person, you graduate in levels of honesty. Hmm. Man, y'all are dropping it. I mean, going to the left, going to the right. I mean, it's just all
Ah.
right. So,
Listen, R.
R.
Kelly.
Kelly. Ooh. Wrong for that. But then again, you're not.
Right.
Wrong for it. But then again, you're not.
But
Huh? Oh, okay. VBFF Melissa is a Leo. I have known most of my life, by the way.
right, it feel like it.
Mhm.
It feels like it. And that's why I call Charlie Two's my VBFF, because sometimes you can meet people and you have a kindred spirit. Doesn't necessarily, people always want to relate kindred spirits much all the time to relationships and romantic relationships, but you can have a kindred spirit with someone and develop a sisterhood and a brotherhood. I think that's how I feel about you and Carrie. For when I started working with you guys, like it was just a an automatic, you know, boom. Like we knew each other
True.
all this time. Um, and Charlie's the same way. Terry,
True.
what you say? I don't think anyone is ready, but if you're willing to work at it, that's what I would ask a potential partner. Hmm.
Hmm. So, let me ask you this. So, dealing with open relationships and open marriages, although they are two different things or descriptions, how would you think that would impact children being involved?
I think you should. I feel. I'm gonna just say it. I don't
Hmm.
feel that you should date in front of your kids.
Yes, if you're going that route, as
I don't
far as
feel
the
that you should
relationship.
date in front of your kids. If your children, want to know, well, mommy or daddy, what are you doing? I think it should you be hanging out like with your friend. I'm hanging out with a friend. You know what I mean? Like they should not
Hmm.
see you kissing. They shouldn't catch you in anything um that's outside of friendship. That would be interpreted as more than friendship.
Yeah, I would think that would be harder to kind of hide and sustain over the course of that relationship or marriage eventually. But again, I'm not into that, so I wouldn't exactly know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Just don't date in front of your kids. Like this I don't see you doing that and having that. Now the people, there are some polys that live together. That's a different dynamic. This is what the kid is growing up and seeing. You know what I mean? So it's not hard. But yeah, I just don't think you should date in front of your kids.
Clarity, responsibility, and honesty.
And a lot of people aren't that way. They're scared to say what they want, and that's why there's a lot of messed up relationships where people are just tearing through this one and that one because they keep finding themselves in the same predicament, and marriages where just You just got to be clear. You got to be responsible in your part in it, and you need to be honest. You know, not this type of statement where I tell you, Adrian, I like ice cream, and you
Mm.
be like, you do what type? And I say, oh, I like vanilla, and then you go and buy me vanilla ice cream, and then I'm not eating it, and you're like, why aren't you eating the ice cream? And I forgot to tell you I'm lactose intolerant. Like that's exactly how people communicate with someone that they like or that they're getting to know or their spouse. Like that's not being it's honest, but it's not being clear. And that's why you gotta put those same things on it.
Agree. See.
Oh, okay, Charlie. Charlie says she refuses to meet children unless they're serious. And she doesn't do any PDA in front of them before then. So Charlie, you date people with kids? So is there a limit? Is there a limit to how many kids I should say?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
And while she's responded to that, um, scroll through some of the comments. Cherry says, I would say, however, that I would never divorce my husband. We can get legally separated and be neighbors so the kids can walk next door when his daddy's weak. Good point. Okay. All right.
Well, we know
Uh,
Terry ain't going nowhere.
mm-mm. Melissa states that I have a 22-year-old and a 6-year-old. I'm seeing a therapist and I'm learning a lot of my behaviors and mindset is the result of sexual trauma at an early age. So sharing the information about marriage and infidelity and relationships is difficult because I'm still discovering. Well, first of all, Melissa, we appreciate you being so open with us with sharing that. You know that could be difficult, and we're praying that the trauma that you experience will eventually be lifted from you. Um, wow, that's deep.
It definitely is true. And Melissa, I have tra- I don't I'm just not it wasn't traumatic. Because when I think of traumatic, I think of so many horrific things that can happen. But yes, I was molested by two different family members. And I was married and I think I was married at least a good 6 or 7 years before I even told my mom. So I was well into my 30s before I even told her what happened.
Mm,
And so um, it definitely shaped me as a woman in dating. It definitely made, I did go through a period of being promiscuous because of it. Once I was able to unleash that sexual desire, I didn't know how and what to control because of what happened. And when I started therapy, a good real therapy, like 3 years ago, all of that was unraveled and unpacked. Um, because it definitely hinders your ability to communicate, um, feeling vulnerable comfortably, and knowing how to share your feelings because you have worn a mask so long to mask what happened and to hide what happened. My parents were like that until they passed. They worked for over 40 years. Yeah.
you can meet people, but they aren't meeting my kids or coming to the house.
Thank you, Terry. I appreciate and again, it's my opinion. I feel women that had children and you're getting to know somebody, they shouldn't be around your kids and they should know where you live.
Agree with that. Charlie says, I always have honestly, and currently, yes, they have children.
Okay.
Terry says, all about the kids and peace for me, while also maintaining control over financial well being and insurance policies. Wow. Hey, uh, I'm just leave that right there. Understand and exploring myself too. Melissa Nelson, we grew up and are growing still. So glad we've known each other since childhood. That's cool.
Good. Good. Charlie, you can't get us confused. No, like yeah, we and I kind of want to piggyback off of Miss Nelson sharing. I want to think like, does if you had anything that just wasn't a normal relationship, if you were violated as a child, and I believe that is under the age of 18, any violations that took place in your life, um, because everything doesn't have to be sexual. There are some children that have manipulative parents that make them feel that they're obligated to do things for them and with them, or their parents sabotage them when it seems like they're going to be getting involved in something that might take them away from the house. So there's all kinds of things that can happen to a person. It doesn't always have to be a sexual act against you. Um, does that really impact you when it's time for you to have your own relationship? Does that
Mhm.
impact who you like? How you want to be with someone? I wonder, I would love to see how many people can say that that's the reason why.
Now that's a question right there. That is a question. Um, Polygamy. I know we've been talking a little bit about that. I'm gonna get y'all opinion on this. So, just discretionary subject matter. I'm gonna see how everybody responds to this. So, the Utah State Senate in the early 2000s, well, 2020, voted unanimously to effectively decriminalize polygamy. This would allow polygamists to gain critical services such as medical or mental health care, education, or even employment without fear. Many say that this sets a dangerous precedent, particularly for young girls, some of whom have been forced into marriage with older men.
Yes.
So, how do you feel about them passing a bill like that?
It's
You do gain service for the children, but it's the double edged sword.
it's about a source, the core of anything. Anything that we eat, anything that we watch, read, talk, take part in, um, even our beliefs. I feel that the core is important, the source. The bill isn't addressing the source, the foundation of what polygamy is. Um, so that's the what kind of ruffles my feathers when it comes down to legislation, because it is something to fix a problem, a symptom, but not
Mm-hmm.
a problem. It's something that makes your wound heal pretty, but it doesn't address the wound itself. It just addresses how the scab is. So, um, some let's say certain laws that are put into it, and certain bills that are put into active legislation. I just feel like, I mean, you already know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have. I'm not going to say it's going to increase. I'm going to say you're going to have more people more open about what they do.
Good, good. Real quick, going through these comments real quick before we end up having to leave. Charlie said, I can't, but no, I love my Melissas. Uh, and Terry says, so Melissa, do you constantly worry for your kids? I am insanely worried every moment of the day. I can't even sleep some nights.
Yes, but I had to pray that God takes the fear and the worry away, because when they were younger, especially when they were younger, um, yeah, my biggest fear used to be them like getting lost in the mall or something, or somebody taking them from me, and because of me, being violated as a younger age at a young age, um, that they would be with one of their cousins, or they would be with a neighbor even, and then that would happen to them. But I had to say, yo, I have to trust who I believe in. I'm a Christian as well, and I believe in God. I have to believe that God is going to protect my children. Um, and that's that. Uh, because it winds up, to me, I feel like it takes away from you being the best parent you could be because you worry so much about what's going to happen to them that you,
Hmm.
whether you know it or not, you're raising them with very um, defined limitations.
Okay. Report. Charlie said, yes, ma'am. For me, it did. I'm all types of jacked up
Hmm.
LLS.
Hmm.
Cherry states that instead of worrying about poly, maybe they should be focused on the age of the wives. I think it should be illegal, but that not as important as protecting little girls from pedophiles.
But they don't call themselves pedophiles.
Hmm. Charlie mentions I wish, excuse me, politicians would stay out of my womb and relationships a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to still recover from that. Hopefully that'll change.
Hmm.
Got to keep voting. She also mentioned children, male children are victims too. Not as often, but they exist.
It
So that,
actually is pretty often. It's just not as vocal. It's
yes.
just not as identified because again, here you are. What man wants to say, little boy, whatever, this happened to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That is so true. It's so true. It's viewed a lot differently with young boys. Sometimes it's viewed as I guess, a ritual rite, and I'm not condoning it at all. But some
Right.
people would look at it like that in comparison to
Mm-hmm.
a little girl who they, that's who you put up on your pedestal. So if
Mm-hmm.
anything happens to that, then you're gonna bring hell and fury against whoever had done it wrong.
A few of my male friends
Yes.
um was open enough to have that conversation with me. And, it was the mom's friend, like her girlfriend that had a key to the house that
Mm,
took the advantage of him, babysitters. I mean, they only want to frown up on if it's another man that took advantage of a young boy. But
yeah.
there's a lot of women out here that are taking advantage of young boys. And yeah, this ain't, oh, well, I'm in my 40s, he was in his 20s. You are in your 30s and 40s, and this young man is 10. And you're thinking it's cute to show and reveal yourself to them or make them touch you and stuff like that.
Mm,
Like these are stories that my friends share with me. A few of my male friends share with me that happened to them, and it definitely messed them up.
yeah, that's sick.
As far
That's
as how
sick.
to review women and respect them.
Yeah, that's sick. Charlie says that part. Terry mentions that yes, both male and female need to be protected. They are pedophiles and should be treated as such.
I agree.
She also mentions, however, DC has a low age for consent, and that's where all politicians are.
If you want to, family, I just so you'll be amazed. Actually, just Google states that have the age of marriage under 8, like over 8, 8 and over. Like you'll see so many of our states, they haven't taken it off the books,
Hmm.
but it's still there. They may
Hmm.
not advertise that you can do it, but that's it.
So Melissa says, the other Melissa, she said, um, just recently, my daughter, who's 22, with me, shared with me when she was in third grade, a teenager who was babysitting introduced her to something she believes nothing was wrong because she liked it. So that introduced her to liking girls. And recently, she said God told her that that's not her path. So it is scary, but I have to trust in God who is helping me on my journey.
Mhm.
That is some wise words.
Yes. And I want to say, because someone is gay doesn't make them a pedophile. Being a pedophile is a totally different sickness that is not sexually or gender specific. We do have some people who feel that way, like, oh, well, he can't be around my son. He's not a pedophile. And stop
Mm,
looking at the dude so much, because there's a lot of these women out here who you flirting with, they looking at your son.
mm, true. Terry says I can't do public schools. I think I may homeschool my kids because I want to limit the influences.
You can
So
limit the
therefore,
influence, but don't limit the information, because what will happen is your kids will go out there and they'll either go buck wild, or they'll be so um, wide-eyed and unaware, naive, that they'll be taken advantage of. You can limit the influences that's on your children, but don't limit the information. They need to know what still is out there to influence them later.
drop that knowledge, sis. Drop that knowledge. So, last but not least, because we're nearing the end, unfortunately,
Right.
um, Charlie says, I always love our conversations at the round table. We appreciate that so much, sis. We thank you for that. And everybody else who chimed in and gave us the proud opportunity in coming to you with this topic today. We greatly appreciate your viewership and your participation. We ask that you please continue to support us.
Yes.
We know that there is no show without any of you. And we
You.
certainly thank you for that. You
Yes.
got any closing remarks, sis?
Um, I feel that you need to understand that relationship is a responsibility. It is not a privilege.
Well said. Last comment for the night. Uh, I'm all for telling them knowledge is power.
Yes.
Knowledge is power. So again, everyone, we thank you for coming in and sharing your thoughts with us. As you can see in the banner below, we're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Please share the show and continue to support us. As again, you are the show and it is the People's Podcast. So until next week, we're signing off and we wish you all a happy evening. Be
Bye
blessed.
bye.